good morning, everyone. Just some housekeeping. Hi. Just some housekeeping before we start is about just to take a little pressure off you about the pitch of the day that we were mentioning yesterday. We do encourage you to, come up here and share because you'll probably give more nuances to what you want about your pitch. But beyond the people that will pitch, we'll also select from those of you that are talking within the presentations about your project. So in this fun and light competition of the pitch of the day, we'll combine both those of you that at the end of the day want to share a pitch or a project, and those of you that have already been voluntarily forced or invited to talk during the day. Okay. Beyond that, I don't know if we can pull up the presentation whenever you want. Yeah? Okay, there we are. Okay. So, I was just telling some of you, like two of you that we were coming together, that this presentation is something that, or this kind of presentation, not exactly this one, is something that I don't know how or why I've ended up doing in different labs and workshops and stuff. So once again, I pseudo-apologize to all of those of you that already have seen me babbling about this stuff. And the most complicated thing with this one is walking on the wire that is this very mindset-y, uplifting kind of let's give context and start the workshop kind of vibe with falling dramatically into crappy Instagram life coach. So I'll try to keep myself at this side, because I hate the crappy Instagram life coach that just watched the video and thought he's a psychologist and can tell people what to do with their lives. So if I suddenly become an Instagram life coach, just tell me, because this it would be terrible. Anyway, so just to put ourselves in context of where we were, we were doing our thing, we were surviving crisis and starting to head upon the VOD kind of threat in a way back when, but at the same time, very many of you, many of us were surviving, we were doing our thing, we were doing more or less okay. The thing is that, then COVID came and things were a little bit more complicated. And also some of the fears, not only from the past, but it also data-wise incremented the weight of the platforms and all that stuff, all those things that you already know. But talking about those fears, we want to use these kind of spaces to give a bit more context. Maybe again, the disclaimer I didn't say before. Many or probably all of the things that I say, you probably already know and already thought about. The only reason why we're saying them is because sometimes in the day-to-day and in all these bad habits that we have, we forget about them and we lose perspective and they bring us down. So it's just to put it put us in those contexts. So what it's true that the platforms, grew during the pandemic and blah, 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 and so many platforms came along, but we shouldn't forget at the same time that they also saw the realization of what we do is so important. And in the lifespan of a film, once again, cinemas, after crisis, they do see that the physical experience, that the people being together in a room, sharing a film, has a value beyond all these ethical and communal and all these beautiful things that we do, it has a monetary value. And this is just one example of the fact that they see value in putting films through cinemas, which is that Amazon, committed to 8 to 10 films annually that would go, like it's a plus $1 billion to produce those films. But then, if you remember, it's true that both Disney and HBO during the pandemic, they completely shattered the windows. But at the same time, things like Christopher Nolan leaving Warner after so many years to Universal because he wanted to be assured that his films were going to have a cinema release. Then you have HBO pulling back all their day and date kind of plan because they saw that they were crashing with every single film that they were doing. So again, some of you are nodding, but it's I know, thankfully, like we really have to remember that. And it's true that there's a narrative in the media because it's easy. They have immense PR capabilities, and there is this thing in our brains as customers that it's true, and it's very useful to have everything that you want at your home. But there is a reality there that, despite being complicated, we mustn't forget. But then other fears that came along with the pandemic was how was that affecting us, the people behind it. And on one side, we have ourselves, and I won't get much into it because we already did that kind of self-reflection yesterday. But I think that more importantly, it's regarding our team. Maybe we haven't arrived to the situation of what has happened in the UK and the US with what maybe you've heard, like the Great Resignation, a lot of young people quitting their jobs because they wanted to feel fulfilled, and their jobs didn't give them that. So there was this, maybe we're not there to call it a Great Resignation, but, we are in a situation where the pandemic has served us to really, think about, if we're happy or not with our jobs, what do I expect from my job, and from what, we've been talking within the lab team in the past days. It's in other contexts like this, it is something there. There is this discrepancy of people that were at their jobs before normally, and now there are these questions, like, am I in the right place? Should I? Yeah, we have this mantra that, well, it's the cultural industries, we suffer, we know that we are here to suffer. But then, the COVID comes and say, like, well, but should we suffer? Like, what's my work-life balance and all that stuff? So that's something that is happening to us too. And then obviously our customers that, let's go with the cliche of the pandemic, but then with the platform, but then the pandemic also, they had, and we as customers had that change too. And we have all these fears about what to do with all these topics. So the concept of what we're talking now is just basically to touch base and remember where we were and who we are. And that doesn't mean to keep doing the same thing all the time. Like, there is this classic example of that maybe, back in the when the refrigerator was invented, there were these guys selling ice door to door, and maybe they were right. Their ice was much purer. It was, it lasted longer. It was much better ice. But the fact that there were freezers now was much more convenient. So either they adapted or they would run out of business. What I mean by that is that we may know all the things that we as cinemas do and say, and we are so good at what we do, and cinema is cinema if you watch it in a cinema. You may be right. I'm not saying that you are. You may be right. But I think that it's better to correct oneself and survive than be right and die. So, there are things that we can learn from all this. And one of them certainly is the importance of the user experience and how that really, like, now it has to be valuable. Like, the return on investment of a person, of its time and its money to leave the couch for you and what you did, that we really have to value that. And the user experience goes from the spectrum of all the things that we're going to talk around these days. It goes from communication, it goes to the space, it goes to the programming, of course, it goes to the way we interact with our customers in our own venue. So the whole user experience goes through that whole spectrum. And the importance of curation. Again, it's interesting how us as customers, as consumers, thought that, and if probably you've talked with friends, and they complain that there are too many platforms, that like, why isn't there a black box, like, let me throw you money, put the films and shows there, I don't care what brand it is, oh, just give me everything in that black box that I subscribe to, and that's it, and let me find it, and that's it. We think we want that as consumers, but then the great joke, Netflix most watched show is the homepage, because you start doom scrolling on the homepage, and of course end up watching the fire episode of The Office. So curation becomes much more important, because we thought we want everything, but it's always much nicer when we find ourselves in those situations to have a friendly face, a friendly hand, and our kind of cinemas have that vibe and that potential for that vibe, which is, we're like restaurants that have the dish of the day, and they come to you at the box office and say, what do you have today? I mean, I'm not, and they're really going to the cinema. There is this fallacy around the expression going to the cinema when most of the people go to a film. Like, I want to watch Ant-Man Quantumania for some reason, and I'll go to whatever cinema has it at the time that it's at my convenience, and that's it. Or maybe I know there is this cinema that puts Ant-Man, and I'll go there, but I'm not going to the cinema. I'm going to watch Ant-Man. Whatever anything else that cinema does, I don't give a crap, because I'm watching Ant-Man. Our audience is not like that, or part of that audience, or an important baseline of our audience is not like that. They come to us, and yes, because they want to watch whatever, Triangle of Sadness or Clerks, because I have to put a Kevin Smith reference in every single one of my presentations. But they come at Tuesdays at 7, because that's the time they go to the cinema. And they come to you and they say, what do you have today? I'm feeling incredibly down. Do you have something funny that can lift me up? Or I have the capability of ruining my life with a film now, so do you have the strongest thing that you have in the menu? And the importance of that relationship has become much more important, because people at home have realized that the abyss, that means the infinite number of possibilities, is not as nice as we thought it was. And because, like, if I have to quote two people in every single one of my presentations, one is Kevin Smith, the other one is Neil Gaiman, and Neil Gaiman is an author that has that was so well timed. That sound, sorry, it's like which, like, he said it about libraries, and I like to translate it to cinemas. It says that he says, paraphrasing, that if you ask a VOD platform for a film, it will give you 10,000 answers. If you ask your neighborhood cinema, it will give you the right one. And that's kind of the vibe that goes into this curation concept. And then it's the importance of our role in general. Claude Eric from Europa Cinemas has this beautiful phrase saying that, cinemas are one of society's last communal spaces, that we actually sit together, not interacting basically at some point, but sharing an experience. And so that kind of role, and what comes with it regarding accessibility and green initiatives and inclusion, all those things that are part of our role have become more important. People in that, like, the same neuron that makes us think, why should I be sad in my job after the pandemic, is the same neuron that values the role that we play in the community. So it is our job to try and get perspective on to focus and work on this, so we can move forward into that, because this role of ours is key for society. And that role, of course, it's films, and it's, you know, being us from Europa Cinema. It's about film diversity and selecting those films and that curation. But it's also about those values of community and giving space and using what's been changing in society lately and the need to be heard. And it's also like that need to be heard also has changed some user habits, like, I'm sorry, sir, but have you forgotten how to behave in an open space with other people? I don't know if it's your experience, but people kind of, you know, just spoiled some of their manners during the pandemic, and we kind of forgot how to interact with other people in the room, and we forget that we are not in our pajamas, in our couch. But, you know, there is this role of being together, you know, and and then there is innovation, which is a word that I, you know, it's every single time that we run one of these labs, it's a bit icky, the word innovation now, because it's like that and disruptive are the two words that are worse, has been used so much for so many things. But just let's forget the ickiness of the words and just stay with the concept. Again, cinemas through history have danced that line, that wire of changing and adapting. And it's true that some of us also have, you know, laid back and come from the concept of, oh yeah, like we have the exclusivity of rights, so where are you gonna go? I can, you know, be this traditional, non-innovative cinema, because where are you gonna go? And things have changed. But, you know, despite, and even it was mentioned yesterday, you know, where was it? Yeah, saying no too much, not being innovative, that Giacomo was saying, you know, that so we may have that again, that neuron in our brain, but we are part of an industry that changes. No, I can move it, yeah. So we're part of that industry that does push change, and you're here for it. So, in order to do that, I changed the slide too fast. This makes no sense to you right now, but it's okay. It's at least it woke you up a little bit, because some of you were like, "This, like, what? MacGyver is on the screen right now." So yeah, I'll take note of that change for the future in the first morning slide presentation. Okay. To put us there, to put us in that concept of adapting to these new realities, we basically distill it into two main modes. One is the MacGyver mode, which is, you know, I'll get some, you know, paperclip and a lighter and a match, and, you know, I'll do, I have no resources around me. There's basically no support, because we want money, and we have to find money to do what we want to do. So, and I don't have it. So let's find this strange way to make us survive. Actually, this has been CineCiutat, my project's baseline way of living for years, because, you know, when our Renoir closed, sadly, we had no time to like, we decided that we had no time to prepare a business plan and talk with the community and da. We said, okay, it's that, or since we are Latin, let's go for that cliche and, you know, of the guts and feelings. And since we were all very sad, we just went with it without thinking what we were gonna do. So that really put us in, that was nice, because in a month and a half we reopened the cinema. But it really has been a toll on us to change the perspective of, okay, stop patching things up, just, you know, try to move. But again, the way I define it is that CineCiutat has been a project of pilot projects, because we've been patching things up, trying things without, you know, being able to do properly what we wanted to do. So that's one mode. Then the other one is, you know, yeah, show me the money. I live in this context of, I have access to funds. I have the capability of, or have a national structure that can help private funding, you know, have tax deductions to us, and I don't really have to think a lot about it because I get access to the funds. And if I was going to be too specific, and I just remembered that there was a camera right there, so I'll just keep it unspecific. But maybe some of you have done international collaborations or have met people that they really don't give a crap about money because they know they have it and they don't really get into the details of it, and they just spend money in a way that you look at them and say like, oh, if I had your budget. But they don't stop and think, because if they have a problem, they just throw money at it without thinking about the problem, just going into that you know, dinosaur mentality that we've been here forever, why should we change, and I have the money. And so, I mean, it works and they survive, but it is, if in this context of innovation, of changing landscape, and of public funding going down, even in the mecca of public funding that is France, maybe even if you have the money, you should stop and find this like third kind of mentality, which is just what you're doing right now, which is trying to see the problem, see the reality of it, see the real needs, and find that balance, and be an optimized enterprise, achieving your goals, and at the same time, you know, being financially sustainable. Which again, it sounds fucking basic, but when it's Monday morning and your projection booth is on fire, not literally, you forget, like, yeah, like Javi was so obvious saying, yeah, I have to think about and be optimized, but maybe you are thinking that now, but put yourself in all these contexts that you were saying yesterday, of saying yes to much and multitasking. Like, is this that obvious when we are not delegating and multitasking a lot? So that's why we try to put ourselves into that context. And for that, we have to prioritize. And there are two things regarding prioritization. And thankfully, I think we are kind of an industry that we have an advantage regarding the new situation, which is up until, like, the theory has been there for years, but in the most common forums, it's relatively new. Up until now, like, companies were based on this, like return of investment. Like, money is more money coming in, that money is coming out. Who cares about the rest? Like, we do something that gives us money. To do that thing, we have to spend money. Let's end up with more money that we started with. That's it. Thankfully, and again, the theory is there for years, there is the company culture that before was some corporate social responsibility kind of thing, now has been more and more integrated, amongst other things, because of the Great Resignation, and saying, oh shit, those humans that we need to do the thing that we have to do, maybe they want to feel something good in the time that, you know, they're working for us in this production line to do this thing that brings us more money. So the fact of valuing the company culture is more and more important. And so in order to prioritize, I'm not saying that one is more important than the other. They're like, both of them are important. Without that, like, you can be the coolest, hippest, more mental healthily friendly company in the world, that if at the end of the year you keep losing money, you'll end up closing. So it's not that it's only about company culture. But when prioritizing, you really have to take into account both of them. And maybe your romantic side will want to prioritize company culture always, and sometimes you won't be able to because you need to make ends meet. So again, how to prioritize, which is part, you're ask for help, and there are people around there, and ask for help also includes fucking Google. But then it is there, and you can type, and it gives you answers. You know, then there's data analysis, which again, I know that a Tuesday afternoon, the last thing that you want to do is check which slots in your programming are performing better during spring and summertime, and then this maybe think of the decision of not screening films during those slots and just close the cinema down and maybe try and open another slot in a Wednesday morning because there are families around you. Like during that process of analysis, when again your projection booth is on fire, it's not like very intuitive, but it is important after all in order to make those decisions. Listen to your audience, and we'll talk about that during the week or these days, which is actually spending, and I know many of you do, like spending time there physically and, you know, listening, not even like even spying on them, like listening to them when they come out of a film, and you put that French comedy that you thought was going to make so much money because it was so basic, but then it's not. And if you're there and if you talk to them, you understand why that kind of French comedy doesn't work and another one does. Or, you know, you did all these changes in the foyer and they just don't appreciate them, but you didn't listen to them before doing those changes. So then listen to your team, again, going back to the company culture. Like if, depending on the role you have in your venue, I'll just give this example, but it can go any other way within the structure. Like it's great to complain, like I'm the programmer, I do the best programming in my area. If people are not coming, it's because the person in communication is not doing things properly. And, you know, like I have a cousin that has an Instagram account and has TikTok. Why don't we do TikTok? It's like, dude, listen to that person. And I'm not saying that everyone is right all the time. That's not the case. But having those conversations are important. Like if you're the director of your venue, but you're not there at the foyer or the box office every now and then, and you try to implement changes in your company culture, but don't know how complicated it is to actually sell popcorn, you know, check the ticket and check that the projection is going perfectly at the same time. Maybe you should lower your voice when demanding things, you know? And use collaborative processes. And again, it's slower, it's not, it's counterintuitive to sit and listen and find paths that make it together, but the end result, at least, and I'm talking in a very personal way, because I during these 10 years of CineCiutat, I've met other cinemas that work this way, and they're happy too. There are counterparts to this, but having collaborative processes in the decisions you make, which means not having this strictly pyramid structure of decision making, making decisions for your audience without listening to them, and actually creating open spaces where they can really take part in the evolution and changes of your cinema. Again, I know it feels counterintuitive when your projection booth is on fire, but in the end, and talking about ROI and, you know, really a return of the investment, not only the monetary one, but the time you're dedicating to that young audience program. It may be finding the time to talk with an association of parents of your neighborhood, maybe finding the time of talking to the schools around your neighborhood, maybe finding the time to talk about some, you know, Boy and Girl Scouts association of your neighborhood. If you're trying to do a young audience program and you have collectives of young audiences or young people representatives around you, maybe it's not that bad of an idea to lose an afternoon listening to what they really want. So that's what we mean by collaborative processes. And in the end, this is what we were talking about. It's finding the time, which is counterintuitive, but it's necessary. And I don't know what is going on, but it's okay. It's actually me sabotaging myself because I'm running out of time. But the thing is, the good part about this, and it's me nagging you about finding the time, you actually did it, you're here. I don't know what's going on. You're here, and you are finding the time right now, so we are in the correct mindset. We're gonna start with the whole thing again. I hope I didn't went very much Instagram-y on you. We start with the presentations now, but remember, like, from now onwards, it's about being, finding the return of investment on your time here. But seriously, like, congratulations on leaving your burning venue for 5 days and coming here just to try and make it better when you come back. So yeah, let's get things started. I did it almost all the time. No, that's very Instagramming. Thank you.
So the stage is all yours now. We're gonna start right now because Javier talked so much. No,
3 minutes.
3 minutes is not on time. So next session will be beyond programming, how to create demand, curatorship and discovery. And first, to take the stage is Kristi Porila, and she's going to talk from Estonia. And she's going to talk about partnership with distributors for strong programming. Don't forget what she said yesterday. What she want to change? Good, Mara, that you remember. So that's why she's going to talk about partnerships.
I didn't do slideshow. I thought maybe it will be distracting me, but you can watch the empty screen. First question is, how many of you also do distribution? Okay. So then I know. So a little bit background of me. I worked in Italian Black Nights Film Festival with film rights for 5 years. Also doing projects like an open air cinema as a project manager. Then after that, yeah, this is my cinema. Then after that, I went to work for one of the oldest art house cinemas in Estonia, which is Kino SESSION, who also did the distribution. So I would work there for 9 years, and we did like 12, 15 titles per year, like El or Grande Bellezza, like big art house titles. And then they decided to restructure a bit, so I left the company and I did my own. This was January last year. And as they decided not to do distribution, so I took my deals and my people with me, which was a good deal because in the package was Il Buco, Rimini, Sparta, Triangle of Sadness. So I did Triangle of Sadness last year, which was a huge success and still running in the cinema. So I'm happy with that. But I want to say that distribution, as I worked in distribution, still working, and also working in the cinema. So this is Thule Kino in Kuressaare, which I talked a little bit about yesterday. As I work in the cinema and in the distribution, I feel that in the cinema it's more like cooperational, and it's good to sit all together in the room. But with distribution, it's more fierce, and there are not so many like from the same country good collaborations sometimes, and it's really competitive, who gets what and etc. But I would really recommend that that there needs to be cooperation between cinemas and distributors. So I have my notes here. So first thing I would like to talk about is schedule, which is, I know, obvious that you just go to the page and you look what films are coming out and that's it. But actually it's let's say one way complicated and the other way very easy. One is that as majors, the studios have dates given to them, so you cannot change that. But with the smaller distributors, you sometimes can change those. So you really need to meet with them regularly. So you meet like at least once in 3 months. So you're just asking, okay, what is coming up? What do you think it's the highlights of your program? What do you think these or these films are about? And you find the subjects which are of your interest. And very often it's possible to change the dates. So you just say that, okay, maybe there is, I don't know, Mother's Day coming up and there is some good film which you see potential in, that you can suggest the date. Or there are some scheduling problems with other distributors that you say that in this week there are like 7 films coming out and in the other week there is 3. So you can suggest that maybe you should change the date because of that. And sometimes there are these strange problems like we had 2 films came out the same week or the following weeks. One was Belle and Sebastian, if you remember, about the big white dog. And then there was White God, which also came out like almost in the same timing. So many people were really confused, and they were buying like for the White Dog, White God, Belle Sebastian, and sometimes there was people who went to watch with kids the White God thing, which was funny. Yeah, I talked about the bigger picture. So you as a cinema program have a bigger picture of what is when coming out, and also the yes, in the scheduling, it's also slow audience is something I want to talk about. Is of course distributors always ask that can you put it into the cinema as much as you can in the best slots ever, and then you just sometimes, I mean, with my audience, I feel they're really slow, so it's rather put less screenings but or more bigger time, I mean like longer time, sometimes even many months. One of the films which had long months was Langustid. Yeah, this one ran really for a long time, and you even don't need to put it like 3 times a week. You just put one, and it's half full. Half full is better for me than you know. We are a city of 10,000 people, so. Next thing is events. Of course, everyone knows the regular premiere events, but there are different types of events as well, which every one of you knows, but I just hop them through. So one option is to have filmmakers coming in to make a Q&A and to have a discussion later, or you don't have the filmmakers, you have just someone who knows something about the subject, and then there is an introduction and later maybe also the discussion about the subject. Maybe you will ask the distributor that can you do something extra for me, like ask introduction from director or the cast, like pre-recorded, which you can use in your cinema, which makes it special again. Actually, even as a distributor, we talk a lot with sales agents that they need to do more things for the distribution, which we all, as a cinemas, can use. They are not very happy about the extra work, but maybe it will happen sooner or later. Then also side events, like maybe a concert or anything which could be connected. We premiered Leto of Serebrennikov and had the concert of Kino, music, which was amazing. It was not mine. Yes, yes.
Sorry. So I have confused a bit. Who has to do what? Is it the cinema who is initiating it and inviting some, I don't know, directors or a group of dancers or some other performers? Or is it a distributor?
I understand the question. So the question is, the big question is whose the baby is. I mean the film. The film is the baby of the distributor, but then it's also the baby of the cinema. So who sees the potential and who sees the so as a distributor, let's say if it's Triangle of Sadness, then it's easy. I just push it out. Everyone is screening it as long as they want. I don't say that they cannot screen more. I always want them to screen max. But with some films, let's say Il Buco, maybe in Romuva, they had a special event with the climbers going on the top. They see the potential in the film that this is something that they could use with their audience. So if you see that this is something that you want to use in your cinema and you are like, okay, who pays for it? Then there are options. Either you ask from the distributor and he says like, okay, how much money will you give, like from the ticket sales? Or you ask for the project from municipality or someone else, or you find other ways. It's not a written rule who will pay for it, but it's about the potential and who sees the potential. Did I answer? Anyone else?
It's better if we have a short Q&A.
Okay. So I hope I gave at least some new info. Maybe not. Thank you.
She was fast. So we are traveling to Poland, and Kinga will join us, opening up cinemas to youngsters. As long as you were not here yesterday, can you just say just one sentence about what you want to change, what you want to explore before you start?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kinga. As you said, I'm from Poland, from this building, Gdynia Film Center. What I want to change, yes, when I'm working in the cinema, not distributors, but cinema. We are selling tickets and invite our guests. I'm working for many years for the cinema, but now I don't know the audience, as I think you can agree with me. I don't know the audience because, for example, when we organize some events, no one came. As it was many years ago, there were a lot of people in our cinema, and after COVID and lockdown, no one wanted to come to our cinema, and it was strange. So I want to stop thinking my old habits and old way, and I want to think different, and I need to know my audience like a new part of my cinema. So, so I think that I need thinking different way. Maybe I hope we will find out. So my presentation is running. It's running. Yes. I want to talk a little bit about our project. We applied. It's Collaborate to Innovate. It's named Cinema Open to Youngsters. And this is my cinema. This is strange building. I have to say that this is a cinema without popcorn and commercials. We are quite new building, so people even don't know that this is the cinema, because as you see, it doesn't look like cinema. So at the beginning, we had problem with people, with audience, because they didn't know they can to come. We invited two Polish cinemas, Jarocin and Elbląg. So I think it's good to have partners in Poland, but I think it's easier to have partners in in Poland.
How many Collaborate to Innovate projects we have here for this year? One? Eva, put your hands up. One, two, 4 projects for this, 5, okay. Does anyone here collaborate with each other in this room? Do you have some, okay, me and Eva? Not yet. In our future, oh, nice. Did that partnership, future partnership started here? Nice. So we're gonna cooperate again. What? With whom? With them? No. Not with them, okay. So, but you didn't put your hand up now when I asked. But that was the question, who applied, not who won. Okay, because we don't know yet who's gonna get the money from them. Okay, good.
Maybe we can continue with Alicia.
Okay.
And then hopefully
We can come back. Okay, so the floor is yours, Ali. She's gonna talk about Cines Renoir from Spain. and the new technologies, how to run it. So this mic is, it seems a little bit better.
Yep. Hi. Sorry for the mess I'm going to make. If anyone wants to go to a toilet, now is the moment. So, okay, I don't know if it's, okay, nice. Okay, we'll talk about our collaboration with the program podcast, Puedo hablar. Okay. So, a few months ago, we have started a collaboration with this Spanish podcast that is called Puedo hablar, in English, I Can Talk. And this program is hosted by two Spanish journalists, Enrique Aparicio and Beatriz Cepeda, and it deals with current issues like, that says there, anorexia, mental health, inclusion, fat phobia. They also do a lot of cinematographic references during the program. They are both so cinephile, and also Enrique works in the Spanish Academy, Film Academy. Well, you understand. So this collaboration started with the Next Generation Call, that is a program organized by the European Union and has a plan of investment and transformation. And in this program, there is an important part about creating new audiences and marketing strategies. So okay. We have been interested in program podcasts for so long because we think it's a new platform that is creating a lot of new audience and is successful. Now everyone listens to podcasts. You don't listen to music when you go to a supermarket. You listen to a random podcast of zombies. I don't know. So we decided when the Next Generation program started, we say it was our moment. So we have two options, or creating a new podcast from nothing, from the Renoir cinemas, and everything that implies the generation of a marketing strategy for young audience, or maybe we join an existing program podcast that has a similar audience, the one that we were searching for, like a audience interested in cinema and a modern and young audience. So with the budget we had and analyzing the situation and the Spanish programs, we found Puedo hablar. We decided to do a meeting with them. And at the meeting, we saw that we have good synergies and good understanding in what we thought, what we were looking for. So we decided to start this collaboration. And I like that image very much because it's like the ones that in the English workbook. So I put that. How does this collaboration work? Well, they do one program per week, and we tell them what films we consider are good for recommendation. So then it comes our journalist and regular collaborator that is called Begoña Piña, and she has a section of 1 minute in audio, and she talks about the film. And now they also stream, apart from the platforms of podcasts and Spotify, they also stream at YouTube. So in the part of the audio, they put the trailer of the film. And afterwards, they talk a little bit about the film, and they talk about the importance of watching films on the big screen. Apart from the podcast, this collaboration extends to social media because after the program, they put a question for their audience on Twitter, and the winner takes one of Thule Renoir loyalty cards. So they tell us the winner, and we sell the card. What we have discovered with this collaboration. Well, this collaboration has bring to us a very good and positive things. The first one is that we have promoted the Renoir brand, and we have managed to reach a young and wider audience, and we also increase our visibility in social media. We also promote the Club Renoir, and we have stand our members. We have also seen that the films that are promoted in the podcast works better also in our cinemas. And of course, we have a strength or relationship with the distributors because with the distribution of the films we recommend. The audiovisual piece that Puedo Hablar sent to us, we also send to the distributors, and in that way we show that we not only projected films, that we also work that they have a major visibility and given a push. So the evolution of the project, we are very happy with this collaboration because we are having a lot of visibility and we are generating new audience, especially young audience. And because of that, because we are so interested in new media, we have also started like a proposal projection for the Collaborate to Innovate, that it will be a podcast totally new from our own with a bigger budget. It will be called The Strange Journey. And now we have the support of 11 Spanish cinema. And we also have some partners like the film magazine Cinemania that brings to us professional journalists. With them, we hope to have a major visibility. And that's all, folks. If you have any question, please don't ask me. And that's all.
So now we can have a coffee break.
I mean, if you want, we still have like the Q&A, despite Alicia's desires. We do have some Q&A moments. So for both presentations that we had, I don't know if any of you, not only questions, like if you don't want to trigger Alicia, you totally can, but maybe you want to comment on things that you saw already, or maybe things that you're doing and they're not working, like you've tried something similar and it's not working, and maybe they or someone here can help you, or you're doing something along the same lines, but it's a little bit different. So if there's anything around the topics that we talked today, or you have an Instagram account and you're a life coach and you want to plug it, you can also do that. I don't know, are any of you trying things around what we saw before about collaborating with distributors? Are you meeting distributors regularly or semi-regularly? Do you have some audio program, let's say, call it podcast or whatever? And want to share it, of course. Yeah? Of course, yeah. Especially if it's for Alicia, that's the best.
Actually, it could be for everyone, because when we talked about eventization a little bit at the start, and it was said that everyone knows about premieres, right? Like everyone knows about premiere events. So from my experience, if the premiere is from a Lithuanian creators, then it's obvious. They come to us, we do a discussion, stuff like that. Do you have special events for international premieres? Like, how do you separate international premieres from simple screenings? Does anyone do anything for that?
So I have two examples that we did recently. One was for the documentary Moonage Daydream about David Bowie. We've had a premiere screening connected to an after party at a local club, which was 80s themed with David Bowie music and stuff. It was quite a success. Many people dressed up with some outfits connected to David Bowie. It was very, very cute, and the after party lasted for, hours. And then with the movie Babylon, we did an old Hollywood party. Well, it's mostly parties, now that I think about it. But yeah, I think it's a great way. We try to convince our audience to dress up thematically, like maybe with the James Bond premiere, to dress up in like suits and gowns. And they do participate, which I find quite surprising sometimes how many people actually take part in that. So yeah, my answer is parties.
I can add something to that because we come from the same country. It was mandatory from the distributor of these films. When you want to screening these films, Munich Daydream and Babylon, you have to do something on the premiere day. After party, quiz show, performances, Q&A session, etc. And it was mandatory. When you don't have any idea to do something else at the premiere of the film, you can't screen this film. In my town, it's about 600,000. In Krakow, I guess it's more.
Sorry, just a question. So that distributor, which I guess was Paramount,
Uh,
forced you
Universal?
to do...
It was
Well,
Universal.
Babylon, okay, in Spain it was Paramount, but whatever. The thing is that they forced you to do something with a film?
I don't want to say forced.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's
okay,
like,
we are live. Just remember, there's a red light.
that's why.
No, but yeah, no, but it's because it's surprising the fact
Yeah,
that
it was kind of only option for smaller cinemas, not the multiplex. When you get to reach, I want to screen Munich Daydream because it's a great film. Okay, yes, but you have to do something more that only screen
okay.
on from Friday to.
It definitely opens up, and I'll take the hit. It definitely opens up the conversation of the balance of percentage and the P&A and stuff of, okay, like
Yes.
if P&A is print and advertisement, and in order for the film to work, you ask me to do some advertisement through eventification. If you were going to charge maybe 50%, let's say,
Yeah.
why don't you charge 25 if I'm doing the advertisement? Which is-
The bigger distribution, I guess, has a different approach to a smaller cinema than the bigger cinemas and multiplex cinemas, especially in Poland. So yeah, that was an option for this title, and it's more and more than that kind of propositions of these movies.
Also, just saying, Kristi, I would just add a little thing around what she was talking about, like releasing the films, maybe not in a full release, but in a smaller release. I don't know if you do it or you ask for it from the distribution side, but a solution that we found on CineCiutat, because Spain is a highly distributed country, like there are so many distributors, and almost every single film is available, and they actually plug you. And I mean, I don't want to know about Octavio and Alicia's life, because if they pressure me with only 4 screens, I mean, I know that they pressure them very, very much. But a thing that we did was create this umbrella called Discovering Cinema, or in Spanish, Descobrir Cinema de Estrena, which in Catalan means like discovering new release cinema, which was like this packaged solution that we offer distributors that when their films just don't fit in our regular programming. So we actually establish, in order to create some branding around it and to create some customer awareness, is like, okay, if you see the seal Discovering New Cinema, let's say, you know that film screens for 1 week, 3 days, and those 3 days are Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday. So it's like one high grossing day, one mid grossing day, and one low grossing day. But it's also like weekends and in the middle of the week, and they usually, then it depends on the length of the films, obviously, of that week. But usually it's 3 different slots, and it really helped us to establish better relationship with distributors, because they kind of expect that a cinema like CineCiutat has to screen this film because you say you were born to blah 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 blah, and yeah, I was also born to get some money, so that's why we're screening I don't know, Babylon for some time, but whatever. And at the same time, they feel that we were able to put those films into some small public fund projects because they understand it as a little project. So it's basically having those conversations with distributors, with really helped us create those small, you know, that little branding thing. Yep.
I do have a question for Alicia. Sorry. Yeah, but then you buy a glass of wine for me in the evening if you already know what I'm gonna ask. So if you don't want, you don't have to answer. It's just like I was following your presentation and I wasn't sure if I understood it right. That who is choosing the film to be is it the cinema or the journalist would like to talk about that certain film? And also, I will give it to you. And also, what kind of platform do you share the podcast at the end? Is it the cinema's social media site or the journalist posts on his or her own social media site, or where does it appear?
The films that we recommend are the films that we think are important for our audience. The distributors, yeah, or the journalist doesn't intervene in this decision. It's like we knew our audience and we know which films would like to them, or maybe that have the potential to they discover them, that are unknown, and with this platform we can make them a push on major visibility. And they share the podcast in Spotify, a platform of podcasts, I don't know the name, but it's, yeah, and in YouTube. And also they put some videos in their social media, and we share them, and then say them to us, and the distributors sometimes put in their social media. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the podcast does have their own social media. It's at Puedo.
I put that on the presentation, but
you'll see it. Yeah, but they have their own social media.
No, but maybe I didn't explain well, but that is. The distributors are happy with that because it's free publicity for them.
Yeah.
So and we see that those films work better. So I don't know.
So
free publicity.
They are happy to provide the film in advance before it gets released.
No,
in the
no,
cinema
I didn't explain that.
Yeah.
No. We recommend films that had the previous. They were released the week before. Like on Friday, they put the films, and the next week we recommend those films. So it's not a spoiler. Yeah.
No, I understand. Okay, thank you.
I'm doing a big mess, but
no, I understood completely. Thank you.
Okay.
So I have the question also for you. Is it connected? Is it this podcast? Maybe general question about the podcast, because I'm not feeling well this podcasts and connection between the podcast and the cinema audience. So is it this podcast released connecting to your cinema strictly or somehow, or is it only just for making the movie more visible for the audience?
The podcast is apart from us. It does is apart from the cinema, and we analyzed the situation, and we wanted to create a new audience, especially in young people. And we saw that young people usually use a lot of and listen a lot of the podcast. So and in the podcast, this was a collaboration so organic because they are so cinephile, and they do a lot of cinematographical reference every time, and recommendation about movies that were important to us. So it was very organically to unify the podcast and our cinema. We gain visibility for our cinema, or projects, or loyalty cards, and they gain visibility from our audience. And
Sorry. Sorry.
we pay.
Because
we pay
remember,
them.
it's been live. It's live, so we do need the movement of the mics. And you know, Mirona had a question. To yeah. So I'll give you mine.
Thank you. I wanted to ask because I had in mind something similar that you asked. If you thought of linking and maybe showing a part or excerpts of this podcast inside the cinema for the audience actually to connect, because sometimes the audience that it's on podcast as listeners, they are just liking, listening. Okay, the brand is there, but it's not enough because they are not coming in the cinema to pay tickets and to see films. So if you had in mind actually to have a space, either to a sort of a trailer of the podcast to show in advance of the film that you also recommend, or either you have a space in the venue, I don't know exactly, your big venue actually, where people like staying at the queues or waiting, they can listen the podcast there also. It's free. This advice is free.
Yeah, like we use the audience they have in their podcast, and yeah, but the podcast, we don't project the podcast in our cinemas, or it's like they go by Spotify or YouTube, and then we hope that the recommendation we just pray, and we saw that this recommendation is effective because we increase our audience or social media, and we pay them. We it's a collaborator, but pay with the distribution is not paid, is for free, but for love to the art, but but. We didn't think about the possibility of projecting the podcast in our cinema. Maybe it could be. And you have a lot of questions.
Okay, then just quickly, then how do you measure that the customers have come to your cinema, not to concurrents, that they have heard the podcast and loved the film, and they come exactly to your cinema, not goes to another one in the city? Yeah, you can measure somehow
we
internal.
saw that we have with the start of this collaboration, we saw that the films that have recommended, because there are similar screenings of other past films that didn't work so well, and when we do the podcast, we saw that with this recommendation it works better, and maybe the film we recommend, maybe it's not the previous screening, maybe it has been in our cinema for 1 month, and when we do the recommendation, we saw the numbers rising, and we also analyzed we have a external analyzer for the social media, so we saw the numbers and are better.
Yep, but there is an interesting thing regarding that, because both of you, if I understood correctly, was like there is a worry in your side, like, oh, they are spending time and resources in something that maybe a person that listens to that podcast then goes to another cinema. Personally, independently of, I mean, obviously, if the numbers don't work, then maybe you have to think about it. But being like numbers working, I honestly believe, and if you see the trend of what works in social media too, if you create something that is almost unbranded, that is useful, that brings value, it's worth it, even though maybe we won't, it's almost impossible to know what percentage of people that listen to the podcast then go to a non-Renoir cinema, whatever. But honestly, I believe that the Renoir brand, and in the end, you start being part of those people's lives. And maybe the first time that I watched it, I'm used to go to this non-Renoir brand cinema. But if I know that this is a Renoir thing, maybe, and I'm living in Madrid or in Barcelona, where they have most of their cinemas, like, oh, like these Renoir guys are doing something interesting. Maybe I should check them more because they're doing this thing that I really like. So again, I don't know the reality behind the return of investment, but if you see even the social media accounts that work, normally our social media accounts that could lose that argument, that battle of, oh, maybe other people are, like, for example, the latest example that was trending on TikTok is the official Bose account, you know, the ones that, it's the craziest account. Like, if you don't have TikTok and want to open TikTok, the first thing they should do is follow that Bose account. It's so stupid that you forget that like, people don't believe it's official Bose account. But in the end, it says like, well, but we are trying to run the long run and, you know, be in the people's minds. And I think that, like, especially if the numbers follow, like, I think that they're managing. And they had this, and this is analysis from an audience from the Renoir, which I was when I was living in Madrid, and I was when living in Mallorca. Like, they had that appeal to the audience from an older generation. And I do believe, just by following them and Puedo hablar in social media, that they're managing to do this generational change with these kind of actions. I don't work for Renoir, by the way.
We pay him. The distribution, no, but him, yes.
So we have Giacomo, and then we'll have the break, okay? I mean, I'm sorry, but that goes down the Italian cliche so much. Like, no, my question is not important. First coffee, and then no. But I mean, honestly, we have the space for a question if you want. Throw it, and we'll talk about it during coffee. Okay?
Now, yeah, I want to ask a question for Alicia, also for Kristi, but to everybody, because they speaks about parties inside the cinema. And I received now the box office of yesterday in Italy, and I scrolled the list, and the first 29 places it's for a commercial movie, USA movie. The first one is Io, I don't remember the name, not Kieslowski, but Skolimowski, the great Skolimowski. Yes, I love him, you know. And so Io, at the 30 place. And so I asked to everybody, to us, we organize a lot of party also for commercial movie, you know, for a movie direct to the young people. And so it's too easy to have people inside. But what we can do for the European movie, because it's not, now we have a big problem with European movie, with the art house cinema, the classic art house cinema, because the people don't come to see this kind of movie. And maybe for the teams, maybe because they don't have a star, maybe, but in past it's not like this. Now we can organize everything, but nobody comes. And so, have you results with the Puedo hablar, or have you tried to do something for this movie? Not so identity movie, no, like Moon Age the Dream or other have a strong identity on the market, and so the distributor knows who is the target. But with the other movie, what we can do? Have you answer for me? Yeah. First coffee. I say this before.
It's a perfect conversational starter for us to go to coffee. We'll keep going. Thank you so very much for this first session. Thank you.